GoForThe2.com in with the week 2 predictions. Going to be a rather short video tonight, but if you want all the top 25 predictions, tune in this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Time, channel 719, Zumo TV, College Football Today, or you can go to sportsgrid.com. We'll be talking about all the top 25 battles, statistics, analysis, predictions live from the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Meadowlands, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully also get a former LSU Tiger to talk about that big battle in Austin between LSU and Texas. So check us out on sportsgrid.com or Zumo TV, XUMO, channel 719. Let's jump right into the predictions for this coming weekend. Minnesota on the road against Fresno State. Minnesota got this victory last year by 7 points. Did not look good in their week 1 battle against FCS opponent South Dakota State. They won that ball game 28-21. I thought it was a very vanilla game plan out of head coach PJ Fleck. Offense rushed for 132 yards on the ground. Rodney Smith did return from an ACL injury, looked good, rushed for over 90 yards, and his backup Ibrahim added 36 yards on the ground. Quarterback Tanner Morgan played an efficient type of game, completed 13 of 18 passes, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. They're going on the road to face Fresno State, who's coming off an emotional 10-point loss to USC last week in the Coliseum. You look at Fresno State last week, their quarterback, George Reyna, did complete 19 of 39 passes. That was 48%, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. This was a Fresno State defense that did give up 272 passing yards to JT Daniels and Slovis in that ball game once Daniels went down with an ACL injury. When I break this game down, I think it comes back to 2 factors. The physicality of Minnesota and the offensive line, their ability to wear down Fresno State in the second half, running the football, and the speed of the Golden Gophers on the perimeter. I think they open it up on the road. They're not going to take Fresno State lightly, and I do feel that the Golden Gophers pick up a double-digit 10 to 13 point win over Fresno State. I think it could be close in the first half. In the third and fourth quarters is where Minnesota pulls away and gets the victory over Fresno State in that matchup. ACC Big Ten battle between Syracuse and Maryland. Maryland defeated FCS opponent Howard, put up a 70 spot on them, dominated, rushing for 331 yards on the ground. When you look at their quarterback, Josh Jackson, the former Virginia Tech Hokie, he did play very well, completed over 60% of his passes, 245 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. On the flip side, you have Syracuse that struggled against Hugh Freeze and Liberty. This is an offense that was inconsistent. Their quarterback, Tommy DeVito, an inconsistent day, subpar day. He completed 17 of 35 passes, 48%, 176 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But here's the reason why I like Syracuse in this matchup. I think it comes down to twofold. The rushing attack with Mo Neal, he did rush and pound the rock for 89 yards last week in the road win over Liberty, and the defensive ends of Coleman and Robinson. Syracuse held Liberty to -4 yards rushing. I understand Liberty's not Maryland in this ball game, but I think the front seven of Syracuse is a lot better than people think, and I think they forced Jackson into long third down situations. They're not going to be able to rush for over 300 yards on Syracuse in this ball game. That'll force Josh Jackson into long third down situations. Keep in mind as well, last year Maryland struggled. They were one of the most inconsistent passing attacks in college football last year, averaging right in the area of about 165 passing yards per game. And I think that's the matchup you'll see play out, especially if Syracuse starts fast in this ball game and forces Jackson and that offense to meet them score for score. Give the head coaching advantage to Dino Babers over Mike Locksley. And I think Syracuse does strike the upset. They opened as a favorite. They're now a 2.5 point dog in this ball game. I think it's twofold. It's their performance last week with DeVito under 50% completion percentage, and the fact that Syracuse in week number 3 has Clemson on deck. People might feel that Syracuse could be overlooking a Big Ten opponent. I don't think so. They need to start fast. Babers will have them focused on the road and look for Syracuse to get the outright victory and upset, mild upset over Maryland. Saturday afternoon. Another big ball game is Saturday night in Hawaii. Hawaii with that emotional win over Khalil Tate, holding him on the goal line, winning that matchup as an 11-point underdog, winning by 7 points. Now here comes Pac-12 opponent Oregon State, back-to-back Pac-12 opponents looking for 2 in a row. Oregon State, though, lost 52-36 to Oklahoma State. I thought their quarterback, Jake Luton, played very well. He completed over 50% of his passes. He did throw for 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And I think Oregon State can score some points on Hawaii. When you look at Hawaii as a whole, they're going to look to start fast with Cole McDonald, just the way they jumped up with Khalil Tate. But I think this is a hungry football team in Oregon State. They're not going to take this as a vacation. This is a team that's in desperate need of a win. I think they come focused, knowing what they did to Arizona a week and a half ago, and I think the Beavers strike the upset. It's going to be a back and forth affair, but in the end, Oregon State does strike the upset 35-30 over Cole McDonald and the crew. I think the defensive line matches up very well against Hawaii in this ball game, and I look for them to contain Cole McDonald in that offense enough and make enough plays to win this game outright over Hawaii on the road. When you look at another battle, it's Buffalo on the road against Penn State. What can you say about Penn State? They dominated FCS opponent Idaho. They put up 331 rushing yards on that defense. Sean Clifford broke out. That offense passed for 341 through the air. You look at Clifford, 280 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Here's an amazing statistic. Since 2016, Penn State is 20-2 at home against opponents. They've won those 20 games by 26.8 points per game. On the flip side, you have a team in Buffalo that loses a ton of talent, including Tyree Jackson, their quarterback. They only threw for 69 yards against Robert Morris. Myers, their quarterback, looked inconsistent, but this was a Buffalo offense that pounded the rock for 285 on the ground. Lance Leopold is a very good head coach. More importantly, Buffalo knows they can't go toe-to-toe with Penn State. I think they force Penn State into a slower, methodical type of game. There's no doubt Penn State wins this matchup, but Buffalo is in this game from the Vegas angle from start to finish. See this game being 30-10. Penn State gets the victory over Buffalo. Think the Bulls will move the football enough to keep it within the number Saturday night at 7:30. Another big battle takes place in the Pac-12. Pac-12 going up UCLA at home as a 7-point favorite against San Diego State. Intriguing battle because when you look at UCLA coming off a 10-point loss as a road dog to Cincinnati, they gave up 178 rushing yards to Michael Warren and another blue-collar type of offensive line in Cincinnati. I look for the same with San Diego State on deck. Everybody expecting UCLA to bounce back in a big way in week number 2, but the MO for San Diego State is going to be to run the football with Jasmine. San Diego State did not look good against Weber State, won that matchup 6-0. But this is a defense last year in UCLA that did allow 195 rushing yards per game. They allowed 5 of 12 opponents to rush for over 200. They were 1-4 in those ball games and got blown out in those matchups by 19.8 points per game. San Diego State, that's going to be the game plan for Rocky Long in this offense. I know they didn't look good week number 1, but they're not going to be intimidated against UCLA. And the Aztecs strike the upset 4-point victory over UCLA Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Another battle takes place in Pittsburgh. It's an early kick. Pittsburgh coming off a 30-14 loss over Virginia. This is an offense with Kenny Pickett that was handcuffed in terms of stretching that Virginia defense vertically. They only threw for 185 yards in that game. The offensive line surrendered 4 sacks. They're now going up against an Ohio team with their quarterback, Nathan Rourke, who I think is a significant upgrade to Kenny Pickett in this ballgame. Frank Solich and will have his team focused, and I think Ohio is a live dog in this ballgame. I think they get their victory over Pittsburgh. I'm not sold on the front 7 of the Panthers in this ballgame, and I think Ohio does have the better offense heading into this matchup, so I like Ohio to get the outright win over Pittsburgh due to the inefficiency and inconsistency of Pittsburgh's offense. Another game is the big one in the Coliseum. It's a Pac-12 battle. USC at home against Stanford. Stanford's won 4 of the last 6 by an average margin of victory of 15 points per game. USC did lose this matchup in Palo Alto by a score of 17-3. Daniels did not make enough plays in the passing attack in that ball game and allowed KJ Costello in that offense to maintain time of possession. KJ Costello is banged up. He's questionable in this ball game. When you look at the victory over Northwestern, same recipe and same ineffectiveness for Stanford. They can't run the football consistently. They only rushed for 132 yards against a solid front seven in Northwestern, and that was the Achilles heel for Stanford last year. They only averaged 107 rushing yards per game, averaged 3.6 yards per carry, and that's the matchup going up against USC on the road. Here's the other factor as well. When I look at Slovis, Matt Slovis, I liked his deep ball to Tyler Vaughn's early in the third quarter against Fresno State. I think he looked like a confident kid. He only threw for 81 yards. I know Daniel started fast, 25 of 34, but I don't think it's a significant downgrade to Slovis with Graham Harrell at the offensive coordinator in this ballgame. I think he'll give him safe throws playing at home. I look for the wide receivers of USC to challenge that Stanford secondary. Northwestern could not take advantage of it. I think USC can. They have the speed to take the top off of Stanford. Stanford secondary ranked 115th out of 130 teams last year. Expect the same with USC. They get the victory. I think it's a 10-point win over Stanford. It's close early on, but keep an eye out for Stephen Carr as well. Look for him in the screen game to attack Stanford's defense. That'll open up rushing lanes for that USC offense, and USC does strike the 10-point win at home over Pac-12 opponent Stanford. If you want all the predictions for top 25 battles, stay with me all season long at goforthe2.com. That's goforthe2.com, or you could tune in live at the Meadowlands Sportsbook at FanDuel, Zumo TV, channel 719, College Football Today. We'll see you on Saturday.